Radio access networks also has different generation names. Okay, so have you ever heard of GRAN or UTRAN or EUTRAN and NGRAN? So these are the different names for the radio access network or RAN that are used in different generations of mobile communications. For example, in GSM Edge Radio Access Network, we call it GRAN. Okay, GERAN. For the 3G, we call it the UTRAN, the UMTS Terrestrial Radio Access Network. For LTE, we call it the EUTRAN, or the Evolved Universal Terrestrial Radio Access Network. And finally, for 5G, we call it NG-RAN. Okay, so next generation RAN. So you can see the RAN has its own name for every generation of cellular mobile telecommunications, but all have the same working principle. Okay, so now let's move on to the RAN components. Okay, so what are the different RAN components or the radio access components? You can see here the simplified architecture of a wireless network. So you have the core network. Okay, you have the radio access network here, composed of the BBU or the baseband unit, and the RRU or the remote radio unit that composed composed of radio access network. And then you have the user terminal here. Just forgot the user terminal here. Okay, we had there's a UE here, user terminal. Okay. Okay, so if we look at this in the physical world, so there is a physical structure that supports the radio access components, okay, such as the antennas and cables. So the tower structure is designed to be sturdy and stable even in high winds and extreme weather conditions. If you will talk to a civil engineer, they will tell you how much or how strong the tower in terms of how it can sustain the speed of the wind. So there are towers that can sustain up around 200 kilometers per hour of wind. Okay, so you can ask that to a civil engineer. So meaning the towers are being built by civil engineers, not ECEs. Okay. So next, there's the antenna system. Okay. So the antenna system is responsible for transmitting and receiving radio signals between mobile devices and RAN components. Okay. So we call this the reciprocity, right? In the antenna characteristic or properties. So the antenna typically made up of multiple, the antenna system is typically made up of multiple antennas placed at different heights. Okay, so we have different heights and different types of antennas depending on the specifications. So there are antennas with high frequencies as part of the best practices in the industry. We put it on top, so to minimize the loss and then maximize the capitalize the antenna height, so it can propagate farther than almost equal, but sometimes it's not. So we are doing that in the industry. So there are different specifications of the antenna depending on the frequency and depending on the applications. Okay, so there are high gain antennas and there are twin beam antennas, but it is not part of this discussion points. Okay. And then there are remote radio unit or the RRU. The RRU is a critical component of RAN system. It is responsible for converting the radio signals received by the antenna system into digital signals that can be processed by the BBU. Okay, so the RRU is typically located on top of the tower structure near the antenna system to reduce the transmission loss. Okay. And RRUs also are frequency specific, meaning there are certain radios that functions only on a specific band. like 1800 megahertz, and some radios operating at 900 megahertz. Some of the advanced radios right now, they are operating at dual bands. So they can either operating at 1800 megahertz or 2100 megahertz or 700 megahertz and 900 megahertz. Okay, so if you're new in wireless telecommunications, just think about this remote radio unit as radio, typical radio. So here's your FM radio, and this is your AM radio. Okay, so some of the applications are the same. Okay, now this remote radio unit are connected via cable, connected to the antennas via copper cable. Okay, and connected to the baseband unit by a fiber optic cable, also known as the Common Public Radio Interface, or the CPRI, fiber optic cable. So CPRI is used to transmit. So it's a standard protocol used to transmit the digital signals between the RRU and the BBU. Okay, so this is the RRU and this is the BBU, or the baseband unit. So it ensures that the signals are transmitted quickly and efficiently without any loss or degradation in quality. Okay. And then we have the BBU. Okay, so BBU is another critical component of the radio access system. So this is responsible for the digital signals received from the RRU and transmitting them to the core network. So this is the BBU. So this one is responsible for transmitting the signal going to the core network. So meaning, together with the BBU, we have the transmission network. So the BBU is commonly found inside a cabin or an enclosure like this, where the power supply is located. Okay, ventilation. Okay, batteries and transmission unit. Okay, so the transmission unit in this example is the microwave, okay, or wireless. So wirelessly, we are connecting the radio access network to the core network here. Okay, so meaning this is a microwave now. So you have the core network here connected. Okay, so there you have it. A closer look at the different components of a typical RAN system, from tower structure to transmission. So each component plays a critical role in ensuring the mobile devices can connect to the wider network and access the services they need. So no matter where they are or where they go doing. Okay. Okay. So in actual installations or applications, so this is how the RRU looks like. Okay, so these RRUs are what we call the proprietary. Okay, so when we say proprietary, so there are components and protocols there that are not open. So you cannot just interconnect an RRU to a different BBU because the protocols are different. That's why we call it proprietary. So this how the RRU looks like in real applications or the practical applications. Okay. And the CPRI, okay, so the Common Public Radio Interface. This one is that one that enables the high-speed transmission of data over a fiber optic cable, allowing the RRU and the BBU unit to communicate with each other. Okay, so this is the Common Public Radio Interface. And also the BBU, as I mentioned earlier, BBU is typically located below the tower. And this is responsible for processing the baseband signals and placed in the equipment room and connected with RRU via optical fiber. Okay.